All right. Thank you for coming back. We're back for another episode. I'm way behind the episodes, but I promise we'll catch up sooner or later, or maybe not. Anyways, today we have something kind of special. As a clarinet repair person, I'm sure many others, including myself, we get inundated with questions about, oh, I just bought a new clarinet. Usually, this is from people with the special eye of seeing something out of the ordinary. Someone will buy a clarinet at a pawn shop or an antique shop or some magnificently old clarinet at a flea market. Oh, yeah. Wonders, wonders. Then they'll email wondering if they found some rare gem at that flea market and that it was somehow an overlooked Buffet R13. Why is it always Buffet R13? Because that's the most popular professional clarinet that actually is worth more money compared to older professional clarinets, except for maybe like Semitone and stuff. But it's always, is it a Buffet R13? Even though it may have a Sell Me USA stamp on it. They're like, yeah, but couldn't it still be a R13? Well, no, it doesn't even look like one. Then I tell them like, yeah, well, what's one thing you like? Like they like cars. Well, how do you identify a 1965 Mustang compared to a 1970 Camaro? Don't they look the same? They have four wheels, a steering wheel, windows. They all look the same to me, right? No, no. Then they start understanding that, yeah, that's the devil's in the details. Like, does it have this trill key guide that's a circular cutout barrel versus smaller oval ones or smaller round ones? That could be from a Lern, could be from a Schreiber, a whole variety of things. There's specific indicators. If it doesn't look like a Buffet R13 duck, it's not a Buffet R13 duck. But this leads us to the another email I got. I got another email which sounds like another episode of Bursting. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just a junk clarinet and it's worth maybe $25 if you can find someone to pay that much for it. It happens so much, I tell you. You just get numb on it all the time. But wait, this one actually does look like an R13, believe it or not. Here's the original email. It says, I have this 1960s wooden clarinet, quote, was told it was Buffet, but I see no logo on it. I found the serial number 6452, but that is all I find except made in France, etched on each piece. Do you have any ideas? I'd like to sell it, but is it worth $100 or $500? I'm sure it needs reconditioning, pads, new mouthpieces, etc. Well, the first problem, the serial number is 6452. It's clearly an R13. R13 started in the 51,000 range, and this R13 actually has a serial number of 51. Yes, it's in the 51,000 range. R13, 51,000 range. This is one of the earlier R13 clarinets. Kind of wondering, I've had it for a long time, and I actually forgot all about it, and I opened up the case again. I'm like, oh, I guess I was kind of part way into refurbishing it at one time. Anyways, if you ever want to see the inside of a clarinet, hey, here's one right here, which comes in handy for this one episode here. But let's actually start looking at the pictures because, I came back and said, well, 6452 doesn't fit the range or anything. Made in France. I'm like, well, Malern's made in France. Summer Paris is made in France. Matter of fact, Summer Paris is made in Paris. Buffet professional clarinets made in Paris. Malern, when they were in Paris, made the clarinets in Paris. And you talk about made in France clarinets. Well, that's probably before Japan entered the picture. 80% of your clarinet makers were made in France. Normandy, Noblet, LeBlanc, all the other big manufacturers you can think of, and the small ones. The question was, who wasn't made in France back then? Okay, there's a couple of Italian makers and German makers. But anyways, like made in France means nothing, really. Anyways, so the follow-up email from this person says, first, thanks. And I had the wrong serial number. It is 5, 6, and then three other numbers. Completely different from the other number that was given to me. Like, huh? So, anyways, they said, I believe my parents bought this for me new in or about 1960. Well, okay, so whoop-de-doo. I'm not very technical and computer, I guess. And the computer told me, I guess the computer was talking back to her, hello Siri. I was sending too many attachments. Oh, couldn't send attachments, then just send multiple emails. I hope the picture of the mouthpiece came through. There is no logo with a layer and 2 lightning bolts on either side. Below that, on the mouthpiece, this is Buffet. Below that says Crampon and Company. Actually, they misspelled Crampon Company again. Maybe below that it says A Perry. When people misspell things, it's very hard to take it seriously because, like, well, okay, so it's a Chinese knockoff now. Anyways, they ended up sending pictures, and I asked for some more pictures because their picture taking wasn't very good. Didn't cover what I wanted to see. And then at the end, I'm like, can you send a couple more pictures? And then like, oh, I'm done with it. Like, well, I mentioned in one of the emails, like they have the advantage. The clarinet is in front of them. They can see it. They can touch it. They can feel it. I can't. I only have pictures. And just the angle of looking at the clarinet could help identify certain things or not. When they don't give a proper picture, I don't have a proper identification or potential identification. Anyways, enough babbling. Let's get right to it. First, we're going to take a look at the bell. Yes, the bell. We'll do one piece at a time. What is important about the bell? Well, there's multiple things important about the bell. One is, as soon as I share it here, share the screen of the bell. Okay. This is what the clarinet has on it. It simply has a simple stamp of made in France. I never did check if the font is the same as the other made in France stuff. It doesn't look like it. The made in France on the lower joint is so small. It's half the size of that. And same on the bell, half the size. I never did look at that. Anyways, the shape of the bell, well, most clarinet bells are the same shape. There's a few like Mazio, some Selmer Paris bells that are a little more elongated and they don't flare as much as you have here. And that helps in projection a bit versus, the sound waves can more easily bend around the opening here. So the bell shape does make a difference, but most clarinet bells are practically this shape. And what's important about looking at the bell is, of course, the emblem, if there is one, and the rings. Are the rings R13 type rings? As you can see in this picture, it doesn't show the rings. Many times you get people who repair a clarinet and put the ring on backwards. This ring, if you look at what's up there, I think it may be on backwards, but I can't really tell. Can you? Next, we have a barrel. Did I say a bell again? A barrel. So it's made in France on it. The made in France on this is really, really small. Matter of fact, let me jump to this camera right here, and we will take a look at that. Is this it? Ah, that's my board camera. Kind of funny, isn't it? That's my ugly face again. Voila, we have an R13 clarinet. Look at that. Anyways, you can see the small made in France right there. Itty bitty. Small made in France up here on the upper joint. Small made in France here on the lower joint. So, and on the bell, you can see it right there. So the made in France font doesn't really even fit on this either. But let's go on. We look at the bell and we look at the bell rings. They actually do look correct. Okay, doesn't mean much. You know, anyone can buy a barrel. Upper joint, most of it, not all of it that I wanted, but most of it. What we have here is we can see the slotted trill key guide, which is very similar, though not exactly like the slotted trill key guide on this clarinet. Let's take a look at this clarinet real quickly. So, see if we can get this a little bit closer here. Ouch. Notice how it's cylindrical and it slightly is convexes to the top, slightly. Not too much, but slightly. This one up here, it's tapered. You ask me too much. You know, I should pull out another R13. I'll do that. Just hold on a minute. You hear chickens, don't worry about that. We used to have a 55 serial number R13s somewhere. Not here. No, these R13s aren't like that, and these are. Oh, this is 104,000. Here's another one. What's this one? No, not quite like that. This one is 92,000. Oh, I'm not gonna go hunting for more. That just shows the same trill key guide for a couple generations. But if we look at the key's not on this one. The throat keys, they're very, very similar. The location, the adjuster, and the cutout for the adjuster. So it lands on a flat surface versus a pointed surface. I believe the earlier buffets did not have that cutout. If you look at the side of the throat key, how it's cut out, and so it doesn't interfere with the side throat key. Okay, it's passable. It's passable there. The trill key guide, though, really is, I don't know. So we look at the lower joint now. Now, a couple things here to take a really good look at. The sliver key, you'll notice it bends all the way this way. This is to allow the technician or the person that owns it, they know about this, to be able to bend the sliver key a little bit more to open or close the venting. So they don't have to adjust the cork underneath by using a sliver of sandpaper or just a pad. Allows you to bend the sliver key a little bit more. If you look at the C sharp G sharp key, you'll notice how it's like hammered flat from a regular key. That is also very similar to the early R13s. And of course, the bridge key has wings on it. That's also very similar to the R13s. So things are similar. I'm pulling out the trill key guides. The trill keys on my R13 are not as tall as those vertical parts that go up to the touch keys for this R13. The shape of the humps, basically, of the keywork here. My early R13 is more pointed, and those are more Loch Ness monster-like. Let me pull out those other clarinets I have right here. There's a 92 one I just pulled out. Um, these ones are not as pointed. Huh. They're actually taller too. So this, what we're looking at the pictures, actually equate to some point of transition of some minor variations of the keywork. Matter of fact, C sharp, G sharp on my older model fits this clarinet better than compared to my 51,000 clarinet. I never compared to the older one. What's interesting though is this arc. See this arc? It's a smooth arc. Neither my 51 nor my, what is this one again, 92, is such a smooth arc. It's more of a tight bend than straight going across a bit, curving up a bit. But it's hammered like this too. You know, I've seen this before. So it's really hammered. You know, the sliver key looks a little bit too big too when you get really minutely thinking about it. Okay, looking at the side keys from the top, we get the same thing. You know, what are you going to say? It looks like it. Oh well. You know, it's one of those things where I need to have it in hand because my later 92 model does look slightly bigger, but that could just be illusion. I could measure it, but I don't feel like it. You'll be here for hours if I started measuring things. Register key. What do you want me to say? So make sure the ring key doesn't look too fat, which it does look a little bit too fatter than regular ring keys. Student models usually have really thick ring keys. If you take a look at Selmer Paris clarinets, earlier ones, you'll see really, really thin ring keys. Then you can actually visually see those differences as you go on. Of course, I can't measure it. You know, I would love to have it here so I can measure things up, measure tone holes, make sure the tone holes are actually hourglass shaped. And I can measure to see if it's a polycylindrical bore too. But once again, these are just pictures. Who knows? What we're looking at here is, yes, it's a B flat clarinet. Made in France up here. Oh no, I messed up my clarinets. Which one's which? Look in the lower joint, we want to look at first is the top cup pad key. Look at this arm. On a lot of Millerns and other clarinets, this will be bent going up because this post is further down the body. And why they didn't put the post up here and just make a straight key? They made a bent key. I have no idea, but if you look at Millerns, you see that's one of the key identifiers of Millerns. So in the lower joint, which I have no keys in my lower joint right here. But I have them somewhere around here. Here's it is. Look at that. So it, you know, what do you want to say? It kind of looks the same. Once again, it's not in my hands. I really don't know. Well, you know, it looks the same again. Keys, keys, keys. This one here, does it look like a key? It certainly does, doesn't it? That one there looks thicker, but it could be the angle too. I don't know, you know. There's the other sliver key. And clarinets have a lot of keys, don't they? Now this one has a long arm here with a little bump that goes out. And that one has it too. So potential, potential, potential. Backside, you got the thumb rests. Now, thumb rests actually are identifiers because there's different type of thumb rests. Earlier clarinets had the thumb rest where one screw was on top of and one below the thumb area, or they may have two vertical ones or three. And the shape of that is also comes into play because it could be a wide oval one like this or a more round one. This one is right here. It's broken off. That's the way it came. This one is oval. Very similar to that one, though not as tall, I guess. It's hard to tell with pictures, of course. You see this little bulbous area at the end of the key? Well, that bulbous area is not there. You can see in this one too, there are a lot of body cracks. That's probably why I didn't really do much with it. But it's such an early serial number. I took those off. Such an early serial number. You can see these are bulbous away on the end, just like in the pictures. Look at these. These are pin and socket for the lifters. Got the pins and the little holes they fit in. You know, so this will go in here and lift it like that, rather than solid lifters. From the side. Now this is interesting. See the sliver key. Okay, so we got a sliver key here. I pull it out. There it is. See, once again, long arms here. It allows for making flexible bending. That's when the identifiers of a professional clarinet, actually, at least in the old days. And this has it. Then you look at the base plates with the screws here. Now, on my web page, there's different ways these were done. And these are done where they're inset into the wood, then put on top of the wood later on. And definitely, same as we have here. One of the key things here that I didn't get here is this cutout underneath the frog key here. You can see some potential cutout there. Looks like the pads aren't very good, does it? But I mean, even the shape of the arm, you know, look at the shape of these things, the way they curve over, you know, it's very similar. Here, this is important. The body down here is cut out for the spring. That's a very, because Buffet made the key work as low as possible, and they cut out the body to put the spring down there in the most annoying place ever. Annoying. With the screw holder down here, that's very similar. This is the screw added on to hold the post in place so it doesn't rotate. Once again, the post and the screw thing, made in France. Yippee, kaye. Clarinet lovers. And I asked for some more pictures, and then she had enough of it and sent me a couple more like this, the ones I wanted in the first place. This had cutouts. Of course, this has cutouts. For 1955, if you ask me, I would say this is probably an R13. Everything. Oh, this is a picture of one of mine. Yeah. That's not a picture of mine because I don't have key work on this. So if you were asking me, wait, that is mine. That's a different R13. I had her send me other pictures where it was closer and it did have the cutouts. So this had most of the indicators of an R13. And if I didn't have one to compare it against, I would say that was an R13. Of course, I couldn't investigate the tone hole shapes nor the bore shape or any real specific shapes. But I mean, it looks like an R13 to me. You know, I emailed the lady back, said, you know, it kind of does look like an R13, but I wouldn't be able to tell that unless it was in hand, because then I could investigate its bore design and its tone hole design. It says a regular old made in France clarinet, no name, no brand, nothing. You know, it's, you know, as a regular made in France clarinet with no name on it, no real brand, they're worth, you know, $100 unless you find someone that believes it's an R13. I was thinking about buying it from her, but I'm like, I'm not that inquisitive right now. With all the COVID stuff and everything going on, it's like, you know, even $100, like, no, I think so. I've really no need to have it other than I say, hey, guess what? I have a Buffet R13 that's not branded as a Buffet R13. Of course, you know, there's the Olds Opera back then, which were earlier models, pre R13s, I believe, or Olds Operas. Um, I have this 51,000 series R13, which would be, I think, more valuable than that one. This is a really early R13, which has a crack in the body. So, was it? I don't know, unless I had it in hand to actually investigate his bore and his tone holes. It may or may not be. Tell me what you think from those pictures. Take a look at your R13 or pictures of other R13s. Do you think it's an R13? Do you think it's maybe a Normandy? Normandy made different style clarinets with different keywork on it. They're made in France. They had some R13-ish type keywork. I never really compared them. I don't have one of those models here with that keywork on it. I have my Normandy 8 I bought in 1974, 78, which has their kind of bulky straight keywork. But what do you think? Put down in the comments below. Do you think it's an R13? Is there something you want me to zoom on in, take a look, compare it to this, and come out with some other conclusion? But to me, I would give it a greater than 50% chance of being an R13. Of course, I'm not sure that's 51% or 80% or 90% or who knows, until I investigated the tone hole and the bores. But she's like, enough, I'm done. Well, you're the one who asked. Anyway, so comments below. You gotta love knowledge, right? You gotta love clarinets sometimes, unless they're junkers from flea markets. Then we make lamps out of those, right? Repairmen don't make Repairmen don't make very many lamps from clarinets. We use them for spare parts piling up in the corner someplace. Anyways, thank you for watching. Give a thumbs up, like, share, everything else YouTube wants you to do. I have no idea anymore. And we'll see you next time. I'm your host, Steve. Have a good night.